Let me catch up this Generations recap here. So that way I don't forget where I am. It was a shorter session, but like not too short. A couple things happened in this session. The last place I had left off was, excuse me, I was healing all those sick ward people. Um, they they were like the organ transplant and like not donor transfusion people who were like fatal. And I got some like interesting perspective about it. There was like maybe like I said, like I got through basically 20 of them, maybe a little bit more. And the DM explained is like why, because I was like, oh man, there's 500 people here. I'm gonna be here I'm gonna be here for days and days. And the DM explained a little bit better is I'm basically like bringing people back from the brink of death, but the process of doing so is like I'm basically performing their body's needs for them while I'm doing this. So it's like I'm basically like operating two bodies to kind of like bring them back from the brink and get them like, and like I said, they can walk out of here healthy and expected to make like a full recovery kind of thing. So it's like pretty crazy like the level that they're being brought back from. And not to get ahead of myself, but like I do it again later in the session. I think this time I get through like 150 people, and I come to find out like as far as like amongst my people, like there might be a dozen or so people who can do it to the degree I can. Now, there's people I think that are more skilled and more experienced than I am because I'm still pretty young, but like for sheer volume and mass like that, like I'm definitely one of a kind, which I didn't realize it was quite like that. So I was like, oh, like I'm kind of hyped up for Cass then. Uh, Amongst my planet, like the DM had said something like there might be 12 other people that I know of at least that might be able to like match or do greater than I can, which is pretty crazy considering Cass is a pretty new character. So that was cool. That was like my little knowledge thing outside the game that I learned a little bit more about Cass's powers and like the extent in which they can go and like just the I guess the extent of his battery, because I'm like you think about it, like this is a character who hasn't done any major feats like this inside the game yet. Like I've healed some people here and there, that kind of thing. But like this is I guess like the first time where I've like actually pushed to exhaustion and passed out. And then the thing about the next people is I'd even push myself to passing out to do that. So I wake up from passing out. I go talk to our security guards, kind of make sure nothing crazy had happened. They see everything's good. I go back and I talk with Lyria, and then I get back into it. The big thing she comes out with is that all the children are healthy with no pre-existing conditions, which that's like its own separate thing because the Darklands itself is made up of people who all had like pre-existing like genetic conditions, things like that. So like they might have found a way to like get around those or like to cure them or something like that. Because at this point, like because the population was so concentrated with people who had passive genetic like diseases and stuff like that. Things that they might like some of them might have been manifested, some of them might not have been, but like the chances for them were there higher. And the fact that they're not like overwhelmed with these problems now suggests like there's something going on. Amara stops by and says she needs me for something, but doesn't tell me what. And I was like, okay, yeah, come back. I'll take care of it. We'll go to this. And my thinking is like, oh, maybe she needs me to heal some more people. So I went and grabbed a quick nap, because I think I slept for like 18 hours after passing out, which is not too bad, considering I like worked myself to the point of exhaustion. Grabbed like an hour nap, just kind of like that charge up kind of thing, and she leads me on this adventure back to the ward, or close to it. I see Miriam's there, and there's this middle-aged guy, this big guy with hipster glasses and pendant stone and chisel, which I know that means he's one of the leader groups, like of the guy's name is Hodge, and he's the leader of Group 3. And this is like part of cast like putting together things that are going on, as far as like how many groups are down here. Hodge comes out and basically honors me for performing what is essentially viewed to them as a miracle at this point, like basically bringing 20 people who were going to be dead within like hours to like, let's say like 1 to 12 hours they were going to die, and saving their lives. And to the point where I literally like exhausted myself and passed out. Like there was a moment for them as far as things went, and there was like a public face to it of, you know, this is Dr. Casimir Einar, I think is my full name, and it's like he, thank him for saving these people and for continuing his work to try to work on, to help people out down here. And the crowds kind of cheered everything like that. Like there's people like, oh, my son's alive because of him now. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. We did it. We killed it. And yeah, it was kind of a heartwarming moment. It definitely made like Cass feel pretty good about himself and everything like that. And he's still a little Cass in the sense of like he's worried that people would see him as skirting his duties with the children, even though he was saving other lives. So he was kind of like cautious and walking on eggshells about it. And then I think Miriam was there, and he was like, "Yeah, you need to like listen. Like, let's take it. It's a good thing. It's a good thing." And then Mara kind of said the same thing. It's like, listen, it's a good thing. Like you helped a lot of people. You didn't you didn't skirt your duties. Like there's research still going on. And all that to say is Hodge said he's going to help us out. He works for the Tablet and Chisel, which they're like the ones that cover a lot of the information, like the archives to this place. And I think they have a lot to do with the Adusian alcoves. He says that he's going to help us further along with the research. He's going to send us basically a couple like researchers to help us. He's going to see that some of the information we're like requesting redacted to be unredacted, which is awesome because that was like something we really need. And he kind of like this is like private to me, like it's like there's me, Miriam, and Dr. Amara. They're there, and this is kind of a private conversation we're having. And he says, there was things as far as based on who you are, where you're from, so like there was a trust issue, and he's like, I trust that you won't do anything to like erode that trust or to go back on or anything like that. And I kind of like ensure him, I'm like, listen, I was like I'm gonna work as hard as I possibly can to maintain this trust and to help you guys out. Like that's I'm not here for like fame or glory or anything like that. Like I'm literally here to like help. Like I didn't say that part, but it was just like Cass takes this very seriously, kind of thing. Yeah, so there was that meeting, and it went well. It was productive, like I said. I think he's got like some people who are specialists with the Aleutian alcoves that are going to help us out. He's got some researchers. He's going to give us some more information, everything like that. And I say to him, I was like, listen, I think we can work something out here where I was like, just doing research and everything like that, like you can like kind of hit dead ends and everything. And I was like, what we can do is we'll set up a schedule, and we'll come down here and we'll help your people. We'll clear out this ward for you of these people that because like the way I understand it is some of these people I got rid of the people who got rid of. I healed the people who had hours to live. Now there's people who have days to maybe a week to live, and then after that there's people who have like like weeks to maybe months to live, and like we'll say that's the third group. I was like, we can help these people, and we can do it without like skirting our researching duties or anything like that. And I said, what I'll do is I'll get myself and my research partners, because the what we're doing right now, the research wise, mentally exhaust us, but it doesn't physically exhaust us because we're not like doing that. So I was like, we have this here. So what we can do is we can have each person come down, take like an hour or two a day towards the evening or something like that after we do our duties with research. And we'll come down here and we'll help like get people back on their feet and make their way out. And he's like, oh, that's, very generous of you kind of thing. And my thought is it gives all the people down here, Miriam, Lyria, and myself, like kind of a forward-facing thing. And I know Lyria, like I said, she kind of wanted to be hands-on again with that. So yeah, it's definitely it's a thing for like troop morale. It's a thing to help people, and it's a thing like it is universally all good, well around. Like, and it's the thing to help strengthen the bond between some, like, at least one of the groups down here, and like helping us get to the bottom of this case. So wins all around. That was a pretty big boom. That was I think that was our first major win down here as far as the momentous occasion goes. So I was like, that's awesome. That was good. It was definitely a milestone for Cass. And Miriam's also going to come back to the fold. He's going to stop babysitting Amber. Wow. What's his name? Aramis. I'm Eris and Amara. This tongue-tied on those. Aramis, which, like I said, that was never something that I meant to be permanent or anything like that. It was just like, get him back on his feet and then let's get back to the research kind of thing. So he's going to be back. I send Miriam back with Lyria, kind of tell her to break him the good news about what's going on. We'll get her on the schedule, get her out and about to see the light, air quotes. I learned something interesting that so the place they parked these people is like a water treatment facility. And it's basically like a water filtration thing that to like deal with the groundwater down here. And Amara reveals to me that the groundwater is entirely connected across the planet. Like, there's an underground network of like aquifers and stuff like that, which is something I didn't know. She also says that the Goram people live underground. Those are the weird little things that have been like, they look like they're like almost like an Oompa Loompa thing, but like they're always like doing maintenance and everything like that. I come to find out that they are their own people, their own culture. They're a second culture that lives on Nui proper, like, but like they're like subterranean entirely, and they're like responsible for saving the people down here in the Darklands. Otherwise, they likely would have died. So it's an interesting thing because they also apparently live all over the planet. Like their underground network like is that vast, so they might be under Nui proper. Which, oh man, that's gonna be not on Cass's side, on George's side. That's gonna be like a conversation to have on when Cass gets back. Like, is the military gonna be like, oh, listen, like, we're under threat from these things, like, let's take them out, let's start the war. It's like, oh geez, like it does not seem good, even though the Gorham people seem peaceful and helpful. But she explained that they have their own culture, they have their own religion, like they have holy sites, things like that. So Cass is curious about it. So this conversation occurs as we get back to the ward, and I was like, all right, DM, I get to it. And I'm thinking, okay, like, maybe I'll get through another 20, 30 people, and we'll just make some progress. And, we have 500 people to heal, or basically 450, 470 people to heal. So, like, we'll get through it. We'll get through it over a couple days, maybe a week or so. And I was like, all right, DM, but here's what I want to do, is I do want to stay true to my word and get back and do some research. So I was like, I'm only going to take myself down to like 30%. Like, these people can live to see another day. Like, most of them have like days to weeks. So when I get through the worst of them, if I get through another 20, then I can kind of get back to it. This is where the surprise happened. The DM was like, you get to about 143 people. And I was like, oh, wow, DM, that's a lot more than I was expected. And he's like, you kind of want to make it an even 150. And I was like, yeah, DM, let's do it, even though I pushed myself further. And like I said, the whole battery thing, getting down to like 30% it's a rough estimation. It's not something like it's a tangible thing to do. It's just kind of more of a feeling. But I do manage to do it, and also don't pass out in the process. I'm like a little tired, but I'm not like the same level exhausted as before. And that's a crazy thing where it's like, oh, and that's where I learned like just how far above Cass is than most of the population, and that like there isn't that many people like him out there when it comes to the quantity and quality of work that he does. So it's like they were hyped before over me like saving 20 people. It was like I just got 150 people out the door to return to their lives, and I was like, I'm thinking like internally, oh, like this will be cool because like maybe some of the other groups will see like, yeah, like he's here to help and everything like that, and if they have their own people that are like sick or something to that effect, then maybe like we'll come to him, and then maybe they'll like open up a little bit when it comes to like helping us with our overall goal of of uh, of like healing these kids. Or worst case, even if they don't have something to offer, Cass will still do it for him. That's the kind of person he is. Um, so yeah, it's definitely an awesome feeling. Get to be like the doctor at work kind of thing. Um, I make my way back, and there's these five people. Um, they're like Lyria is trying to keep them in line, everything like that, and Variman basically says like, "Listen, we need some more food if they're going to be here." I was like, "All right, we'll let them know." Um, and Lyria kind of confides in me and says, "Listen, they have their own ways of doing things. We have our own ways of doing things." It was like because it's more for our and I said basically because it's more for our eyes, it'll be more comfortable if they do it our way because it's something that we've been trained, our not our lives, our adult lives to do. So she agrees to take a couple of days to train them how to do like proper research and organization. And I was like, yeah, like it's one of those ones where it's an initial time investment, but like in the long run, it should snowball our process a good bit. So she decides to go with that. And I'm like, okay, like I kind of give the announcement. She kind of she's very much, she gets a little militaristic where she snaps the troops in order, and she's like, all right, no one touch anything else. Like we're gonna go through this. Then when you do that, when you completed this crash course, you'll be good to go. I ended the session with saying to her or saying to them, I was like, oh, like I'm Dr. Casimir in case you haven't caught that. And I was like, what are your names? And that's where I was put on pause. It was the time. It was late enough to that point, so like I get to because like the Cass's idea is I was like I'm sorry, DM, I know it's late and everything like that, but it's like Cass wants to treat them as humans, not as like peons or anything like that, or Nuitari, not as peons. So like that kind of um, get like a repertoire with him, like because he wants people to feel like valued and everything like that. But that's where I was put on pause. Awesome session, huge milestone for Cass, and he's out there killing it, I think.